Yeah, I hope, man. We did swing dancing. Yeah, we did stories.
So apologies for anyone who is going to suffer with the sun in being here. I've chosen to sit myself in the shade, which is quite selfish. If you want to, you can come really close. Yeah, by all means, get yourselves comfortable. This is going to take a few minutes. And if you are going to sit in front of the gates, just beware that if anyone does come or go, you might have to just jump up quickly and let them through. We're not obstructing anything here, we're just using the space. So I've come here this week because I really care about the world that we live in, and I care about the world that I'll be leaving to my children, and it really matters to me that they are left with a planet that is healthy, and I would like to take the great things that this society has created and make sure that they are left in the best condition possible for future generations. The public service is one of the things that I think is a great testament to what our society has managed to create. I know a woman, just to add a personal anecdote, who happens to be the head of an adoption agency. And there are children in this world that are born into horrible circumstances and, you know, even born without parents and all sorts of violent situations. And I think it's an amazing thing that our public service exists to be able to find homes for those people that have been abused, abandoned, tortured. I think there's wonderful things that our public service is capable of. Unfortunately, there are problems with our public service. By means of corruption and coercion and lack of honour, there are many things that happen in our public service which are not in the public good. Not just that, they also actually go as far as causing harm to us as individuals and as a collective. And unfortunately, this situation here is a perfect example of that. The officers that are here present are public servants, and my my belief and my hope is that they've all joined the public service because they wanted to be of benefit to this society. And as with any situation, with any crowd, there's going to be bad apples. But my firm belief is that those that are here present right now are upstanding, beautiful, soulful individuals that would wish to do the best for their society. And gentlemen, I'd like to honour you and thank you for that, ladies and gentlemen. And I've had wonderful conversations with many of the police officers since I've been here. And I just want to give you my utmost respect. It's a difficult job that you've been given. And at the moment, I feel really uncomfortable because you're being coerced into doing something which is unlawful. The problem lies much higher above in the connections that exist between the government and the corporations. I'm sure most of us here would have heard about Lord Brown and how he is the CEO of Quadrilla, and whilst at the same time he's advising the energy committees in this country to, well, advise them to use his company to drill holes in the ground for a profit. And by getting government legislation and licences and permits to do this, he has been able to enrol the police force in the protecting of what is his private interest. So, consequently, the police oath, which is to protect life and property, is here today not being honoured. In the sense that we all have shared ownership of the water supply. We all in this locality depend on the purity of water. Water gives life. And without clean water, we are screwed. There's no other word for it. And this isn't even just a local issue, because if the water is affected here, and I've heard about the technical propositions to deal with this, of spraying it off into the atmosphere and disseminating like that. The trouble is with the water cycle, that on this planet it's all-inclusive. So if we toxify water in one area, it instantly becomes a global situation, because that water and that toxicity is spread throughout the entire ecosystem. Ever since we went to space in the 60s, it's now beyond any question that we are one humanity on one planet. There are no borders or continents visible from space. We are all here equally dependent on this biosphere. And at the moment, the greatest threat to human life is our ecology. If we damage our environment, we are all committing collective suicide. And this makes the duty of care to protect life and property the highest possible cause that anybody could ever follow. Now, of course, there's a difference between legislation and law, but not everybody's aware of this. The law can be encapsulated in 3 words: do no harm. That is the basis of common law. And there's a very confusing situation going on here, because the police have been drafted in to protect the property of private individuals. But the consequences of protecting the private property, which is what they've been drafted to do because of legislation that exists, because of these rules of society that have been brought into being in very recent times, largely due to corruption and backhanders. They're protecting the property of private individuals, but at the threat of affecting people the world over in terms of our water supply, something that we all depend upon. Another example of the difference between law and legislation is what's going on in the banking industry. Many of us, I think, are well aware of the corruption that exists in the banking industry, which is all totally legal. It is all legislated into being, but it's completely unlawful. They cause great harm with what they do in the banking industry. You know, we talk about times of austerity. Did you know that every day this country is spending £190 million on the interest that goes into the pockets of private bankers? £190 million a day. Now, if we refused to pay the banks on their unlawful loans, this country would be completely transformed in the space of a year. £190 million a day is enough to feed, clothe and give a Nintendo Game Boy probably to every child in this country. And a Porsche. So, yeah, obviously I wouldn't encourage that for a second. But enjoying the irony of the moment. So, how do we regain law and order in this country? Just this week I myself went to court and witnessed multiple miscarriages of justice. The court system cannot be depended on to administer law at this particular moment. Unfortunately, more's the pity, because I would like to live in a world where we could get redress for our grievances through the courts. And it is possible at the higher levels, but at the low levels they are also suffering from the corruption and also indoctrination of magistrates and such like, so that it's not actually able to come into being. So this is quite a long preamble to what's going on here. This here is a notice, and it's a notice which is a notice of breach of duty of care and misconduct in a public office. Misconduct in a public office is the most serious allegation you can make to any public servant. It could go as far as life imprisonment, and can also end up in huge fines and also implications to people on a personal level. And I really want to emphasise the degree to which that I would never want to see that played out to its fullest extent with any of the individuals here present, because my understanding is that they've got children, they've got families, they've got brothers, they've got sisters, and the right to earn a livelihood doing what means the most to them, which again I like to believe is protecting life and property. So the point of a notice is, in law there's like 3 kinds of ways of breaking the law. This is all explained in very simple terms in this document. The first way of breaking the law is accidentally. Actually, would some people like, would you like to have, if you stand near someone who's got a copy, then you'll be able to see this as I, sorry, squeals, you'll be able to see this as I go through it. Please do, yeah. So on the second page of this document, you'll see that the first way to break the law is accidentally. If I'm driving along the road and I don't see a speed limit, then I've accidentally broken the law. This is a civil offence, and I may receive a fine, but I'm not, sorry, for a civil offence there won't be a fine or an arrest, but I may have to appear in a civil court. But if I knowingly commit an offence, or if I intentionally commit an offence, then that is a criminal act and is punishable by arrest, by a fine and by damages. And so the point of a notice is to remind people of the fact that they are about to cause harm to us. So this is a preemptive document. It's to say, I think you're about to harm me. Please just take notice. And these are the points on which I'm claiming that you're going to harm me. Now, at the top of the page, it begins with the statement of the duty of care. And the duty of care states that you must take care to avoid acts or omissions you can reasonably foresee will be likely to injure your neighbour. Now, it's interesting here that acts or omissions, if you act to hurt somebody, then that is, that's quite clear. An omission is when you fail to act. So if I was to witness you suddenly leap up and try and cause a physical offence to this officer, because I as a civilian, everybody shares the duty of care, if you were to try and hurt this police officer, I am duty bound to prevent you if I can. If I'm humanly capable, without injuring myself, then I'm duty bound to try and protect you, and protect this officer. That's called the protective use of force.